Welcome to 263 Youth TV, and I'm your host, Tavita Natasha Mbala, and this is the Youth and Health SRH talk show. And today we're focusing on the dynamics around parent-to-child communication. You'd find that communication is key, but however, it can be negative and both positive. And today we want to focus on issues to do with effective communication, which then goes on to strengthen the parent-to-child communication relationship and also the family at hand. Today in the studio, I'm joined by Anesu, Lorraine Mupomba, and also Mr. Gerald Maguta, and they're going to help us understand the dynamics between parent-to-child communication. Mr. Maguta and Lorraine, welcome to 263 Youth TV. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Davita.
Okay. Mr. Maguta, as the parent here, I have to ask you, in your own understanding, what can we say we call parent-to-child communication?
We are referring to a two-way communication, whereby we expect point A to communicate to point B, and point B give a feedback of that communication. So, communication to me, it may be verbal or non-verbal. Mm-hmm. But the most important thing is not a one-way communication. It should be a two-way where we expect a feedback from both ends.
Lorraine, do you also agree with the same sentiments that Mr. Maguta says, that communication needs to be two-way, or you define communication in your own way?
I do agree with Mr. Maguta. I think communication is the verbal and non-verbal interaction between a parent and a child. So I do agree with Mr. Maguta.
Okay, so Mr. Maguta, before we delve into the effective ways of communication between a parent and a child, I'd like to know, we come from a very strict African setup. What can you say are some of the sentiments of poor communication between parent and the child that you've witnessed in your community?
In fact, sometimes we are guided by traditional ways of doing things. We are not changing as parents. Mm-hmm. And the fact of not changing as parents to adjust to suit the current environment, I think by sticking to the old tendencies, I think at the end of the day, our communication is not effective. That's how I see it. So we need as parents to adjust to suit the current environment, so that children can understand us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maguta. And Lorraine, when we're looking at issues to do with sexual reproductive health rights, especially looking at young people and young girls, do you feel like as the youth you are equipped or you're confident enough to have open and effective relationship with your parents?
As a young person, I feel like I am equipped to have a very productive conversation with my parents. But then our parents are not engaging as much with us because they lack very important information. As times have evolved and changed, things that we are now facing as the young people is different from what our parents know. So I feel like our parents need to engage more and learn more about the SRH health.
Okay, you say that so many things have changed and times have changed. Can you tell us an example of some of the differences in terms of times and experiences between you and the older generation?
I mean, our age now, we understand that it's no longer all about abstinence, right? Mm-hmm. We now have other options. And then, once we have taken to actually indulging in those activities, we're also learning about new things. And I think we have adequate information and equipment to help ourselves as young women, which our parents were not afforded.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lorraine. Mr. Maguta.
I just want to come in.
Yeah.
What Lolo should understand is that as parents, our assumption is that you are still young. And some of the things that you want to engage in, we know the dangers of those things like pregnancy and so forth. Because of that, that's why sometimes we are hesitant to allow you to do whatever you want to do. Though you are clear that we have quite a number of things to protect ourselves, as you are saying. But to parents, it's a taboo. We take it as a taboo to talk about a condom, though you can say we can use this and that, we know the dangers. Maybe some of those things that we are saying to us, we think they are not 100% effective. So what is important by the end of the day is to see my child who is healthy through and through.
Mr. Maguta, these are very interesting sentiments that you're speaking about. You talk about taboos and condoms being labeled as taboos, but you find that the younger generation is now living in an internet world whereby I could easily go to something and access information, even if you and my parent are not making it easy for me to come through and engage with you. And we're trying to build relationships between parent and children, whereby your child can come through and say, Dad, I'm facing A, B, C, and D in my relationship. Or how do I use, put on a condom? Can you help me be on a contraceptive plan? So as a parent, times are changing. My next question to you is, how do you think we can best establish common ground between the child and the parent for the both of you to be comfortable to talk about sex, to talk about issues to do with the reproductive health, and also contraceptives and the issues to do with sex and the use of protection?
For your own information, yes, what you are saying, it's possible for the child to talk to the parent.
Mm-hmm.
But what you understand is that there are certain topics that are guided by gender, whereby a female or my grandchild cannot be free to talk about it, because at the end of the day, let's suppose we are talking of the menstrual cycle, whereby even the father should do, the mother should demonstrate how to wear or to insert that contraceptive. So it's what?
Okay.
To insert a bed. Automatically or traditional culturally, the father is not allowed to do that. Even we have some topics like what dreams to a real child. At the end of the day, the mother, single mother, cannot be free to discuss about those sometimes. So those are certain barriers. I think, yes, we can talk with my child, but there are certain topics that we can not talk freely.
Well, I do agree with you, Mr. Makuta, but I feel like our parents now are a very important factor in helping us with the SRH information, right? So I think as parents, they should get information and help us learn, because times have changed. Earlier in the days, they used to go to aunts and uncles and whatever, but then times have changed. So our parents need to step up now and learn all those things so that they can come back and help us. Because at the end of the day, whether they help us or not, we'll go out there and research about it and maybe learn other bad things about which could have been prevented if our parents could have been open enough just to sit down with me and girlchild and say, my daughter, you should just do this and that. And it's so very simple.
Lorraine, I love how you're speaking about your parents creating an environment whereby you can talk to them. I would like you to contextualize that setup. How would you like your parent to have a conversation with you pertaining to issues to do with sexual and reproductive health?
Personally, I can say I'm a very fortunate person. Because where I come from, I feel like I come from a background where they're very open-minded people. My parents are very open-minded. So we actually had a talk where my mother had to teach me all about those things. And then I learned it from a very young age. And I grew up to actually understand and make good decisions because of it. Now I think that I've become a better person because of it. I know what to and what not to do. And I can help decide for myself. And learning, because at the end of the day, it's about us as young people learning to take control of our lives and our situations with the help and guidance of our parents.
Mr. Makuta, do you think that you're ever going to be in a situation or space whereby you can have a conversation to do with sexual and reproductive health rights with your girl child as a parent?
It is very possible. But mind you, because of technology, whereby both parents and children, when we get home, everyone is busy with his or her phone, of which by the end of the day, the problem is that we will fail to get that chance of even communicating. So, in as far as I'm concerned, we may need to talk, but the way how we are interacting with our phones may be seeking more information about this sexual reproductive, what as we are saying. That's the way we are doing, or the way we are focusing on our phones may be a problem to have time to sit together and discuss about these issues. But it's possible. It's possible. If you have got enough time, it's possible to talk about it, depending with the type of topic that you want to discuss about. As I have already told you that some topics are very sensitive. A girl child may not be free to discuss about it.
So you find that our guest, Mr. Maguta, is telling us about the sensitivity of such topics, and he's speaking on issues to do with family time and issues to do with the phone. So I really think it's high time that as parents and also as children and as homemakers, we take time to create time for our children, even through the phone. Let us break the digital divide. Let us use the phones to communicate with their children, because they're forever posting something on their status, whether it's sexual, comic, or even at times violent in nature. Let us engage our children. And speaking of engaging, Doreen, do you think that the older generation that Mr. Maguta represents has got any knowledge to do with sexual and reproductive health?
Honestly, I think they're still a little bit behind on communicating, because most times our parents are very hostile with such discussions, and it's usually one-sided, where they tell you, no, you shouldn't do that, A, B, C, and D, don't do that. Well, they are doing it. Rather than trying to avoid the whole situation and they should just accept this is happening and learn how to communicate with their children. Maybe take lessons of communication and then learn, because they do not know how to communicate well. They're very hostile, and we've seen that so many children have been damaged because of it.
Mr. Maguta, do you believe that in your early experience, you can say that you've got a bit of know-how on the new latest trends that those children are getting into when we're looking to do with issues around sexual and reproductive health?
The main problem is that I've never exposed it to formal education about this subject. We are guided by cultural tendencies as parents. So, for your information, if we introduce this particular topic, sometimes these children of nowadays are more informed than us. It's a matter of us accepting that these children are more informed than their parents. So we expect the child to teach me, not me to teach him, because of technology. So I accept we have got our weaknesses as parents, but it's not easy to accept our weaknesses and allow the child to take lead on these issues.
I do appreciate
they are mainly guided by the cultural tendencies.
So, Mr. Maguta, what can we say, where can we say we're going as a nation if our leaders are somewhat in the dark on the issues that they are meant to be advising us on? What's the next step? What can we do?
We have to be patient as children. Allow us to learn gradually, to understand our environment better. Then let us be sure that we, as I told you before, we were not exposed to formal education about these things. We are learning from experience. We are learning from our children. So because of that, you should be very patient when we talk about these issues. Go with us gradually so that we can understand you better. If you rush, definitely we won't understand you. Because we used to counsel, we used to allow our aunties, our uncles to take these issues, while parents were just ignoring them. Now the situation is forcing us to engage our children. Unfortunately, the children are ahead of us. So, as parents, we should accept that we have little knowledge about the subject and allow the situation to teach us gradually till we understand our children. If not so, that's the main problem. We never understand each other.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Maguta, for coming through. And Lorraine, what can you say can be your last words to the youth pertaining to opening up to their parents?
Well, I think we as youth should be, as Mr. Maguta said, be patient with our parents and give it time. Talk to our parents nicely, and I think good communication is key. Learn good communication. As young adults, we should learn good communication on how to talk to our parents. And as parents, they should learn good communication on how to engage with us and talk to us about such things. Because good communication means we are protected from those tough times, right? So yes, I think communication is key. People should learn good communication. As parents, they need to learn to listen. While we talk, they should listen and be ready to engage, be ready to open up, be ready to understand with us and walk with us through this journey, not be hostile. And as children, we also need to be patient with our parents and understand that this is a new thing, this is hard. So yeah, I guess patience is key.
Mr. Maguta, what can you say can be your last words to the parents who are watching right now?
My message to the parent is that let's accept our weaknesses. Let's understand that the environment is changing. Technology is taking its pace. Children are learning through different ways. So never be surprised. Better we engage our children in a lovely way, so that they can feel free to communicate with us their problems. Let's not create a hide and seek environment whereby if we are not open enough, our children will start doing hide and seek. At the end of the day, our children will suffer. So as a parent, I encourage my fellow parents to accept their children as they are and allow them and create an environment where they can speak to each other without any hassles.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Maguta. So that's what we have for today's edition of the Youth and Health SRH Talk Show. My name is Tavita Natasha Mbala, and as you had it here today, we're finding that we're coming through from two different generations, whereby issues to do with sexual and reproductive health were a taboo and still are a taboo to the older generation. In as much as you and I think that we're in the know-how on the latest trends to do with sexual and reproductive health, remember that your parent is slowly but surely trying to catch up, and you should make sure that you create an environment back home whereby you can interact with your parent and not in a hostile way. Remember, communication is two-way.